All right, let's talk about something that can literally make or break your business's future. It's often buried deep in the fine print of your commercial lease, but trust me, it's one of the most powerful tools you have. We're talking about the renewal option. Let's dive in.
So picture this. You've poured years of your life, your sweat, your money into building a business at the perfect spot. Your customers know exactly where to find you, your team loves the location, and then boom, you realize the lease is almost up. That moment brings this huge sinking feeling of uncertainty for any business owner. What do you do? And let's be real, the stakes are incredibly high. Moving is so much more than just packing up a few boxes. It's a massive disruption to your entire operation. You're looking at all these unexpected costs for new fit-outs, for marketing. And then there's the biggest risk of all, losing that loyal customer base you worked so hard to build. It's a major, major strategic risk. But what if you had a secret weapon, a pre-negotiated right that gives you control over your business's future? Well, that's exactly what a renewal option is. It's your contractual key to stability in a very unstable world.
So, what is this thing exactly? A renewal option is a clause in your lease that gives you, the tenant, a unilateral right to extend. Now, that word, unilateral, that is everything. It means the decision is one-sided, it's entirely yours. If you follow the rules and exercise it, your landlord is legally bound to honor it. The power is completely in your hands.
Here's an easy way to think about it. If you're into finance, it's just like a call option on a stock. You have the right to buy, but you're not obligated to. It's the same idea here. You have the right to stay in your space, but you're not locked in. This gives you incredible flexibility to make the best decision for your business when the time comes.
Okay, but it's not quite that simple. The real power of this clause, and frankly, all the potential traps, is buried in the details. The devil really is in the details here. So let's pop the hood and break down what this thing is actually made of.
So, every renewal option has a few key parts we have to keep an eye on. We're talking about how long the new term is, what specific conditions you have to meet, and of course, the deadline for giving notice. But the one part that gets negotiated more than anything else, it's always about the renewal rent.
So, there are basically three main ways your future rent gets calculated. First, there's fair market value, or FMV. Honestly, this is usually the riskiest for you, the tenant. Why? Because if the market is hot, your rent could just suddenly skyrocket. Next, you have a fixed percentage increase. I love this one for tenants because it gives you predictability. You know years ahead what your rent will be, which is a dream for budgeting. And finally, there's a CPI-based adjustment, which ties your rent to inflation. This can protect you from those wild market swings. As a tenant, your goal is almost always to fight for that certainty.
Now, understanding all these moving parts is so important because negotiating a renewal option is really like a strategic dance. You and your landlord come to the table with completely different and often competing goals.
Look at this. As the tenant, you want certainty. You want control. You want costs you can predict. You also really want to make sure that if you sell your business, this valuable option goes to the new owner. But your landlord, they've got a totally different wish list. They want to cash in on rising market rents, which is exactly why they push for that fair market value method we just talked about. They want a ton of advance notice if you're leaving, and they want to make darn sure only good, reliable tenants get to renew. Every single one of these points is a battlefield in the negotiation.
Now, because this is a negotiation with such different goals, there are some serious landmines hidden in the legal jargon. And these aren't just minor things. We're talking about high-stakes traps that can completely wipe out your right to renew.
You might be scanning your lease and see this little phrase. It sounds almost harmless, right? Like something on a motivational poster. Time is of the essence. But in a legal contract, this is one of the most dangerous phrases you can find as a tenant. It means your notice deadline is absolutely, brutally final. If your notice is due by 5 p.m. on a Tuesday and it shows up on Wednesday morning, you can lose everything. Your entire option, gone. One single day can cost you the home of your business.
And there are other gotchas too. If your rent is based on fair market value, how is that even calculated? A lot of leases are super vague on this. You also need to watch out for something called conditions precedent. These are things you have to do before you can renew. A really common one is that you can't be in any kind of default, which could mean something as small as paying rent a day late just once years ago. And here's the big one. Is the option only for the original tenant? Because if it is, that option becomes totally worthless the second you try to sell your company.
So how do you dodge all these traps and actually win the negotiation? You need a playbook. You need a strategy. So let's talk about how you can build up your defense and your offense for this critical negotiation. Okay, here's your playbook. Step 1, and this is non-negotiable. Get this option in writing during your initial lease negotiation. It's almost impossible to add it later. 2, calendar that notice deadline everywhere, on your phone, on your computer, on a post-it on your monitor, with multiple redundant reminders. 3, try your best to negotiate that time is of the essence clause right out of the lease. 4, push and push hard for a predictable rent like a fixed increase. And finally, number 5, make sure the option can be assigned. That's just the legal term for making sure it can be transferred to a new owner if you sell. This protects the value of your business.
You know, it also really helps to know what the other side is thinking. Landlords have their own playbook. They're going to push for a really long notice period, like 9 to 18 months, so they have plenty of time to find someone new if you decide to leave. They'll also want really strong default clauses and will try to limit who the option can be transferred to. Understanding their goals helps you anticipate what they're going to ask for and find a fair middle ground.
So after all of this, I want to leave you with one big question to think about. I'm serious, go pull out your current lease and find that renewal clause. With everything you know now, is it truly an asset that gives you control and power? Or, with all its hidden traps and vague language, is it actually a ticking time bomb, a liability just waiting to happen? Because when it comes to this, the details make all the difference.